So there are a lot of ways to become more powerful in Naruto. You can train in Sage Mode, become a Jinchuriki, learn additional elemental releases, or get a curse mark. And usually, if you ask what makes somebody strong in the Naruto universe, they'll respond with one of these options. Naruto is strong because of Kurama, Sasuke is strong because of the Sharingan, Sakura is strong because of the 100 healings, and so on and so forth. There is another way to get strong in the Naruto universe, a way that's a lot less talked about, and that way is through the usage of ninja tools. Now I know you're going, you mean those things that Tenten uses? Well, yes. Yeah, I actually do. But here's the thing. Just because Tenten doesn't use ninja tools to their fullest possible strength capacity doesn't mean that ninja tools as a whole are useless. In fact, we have said multiple times on this page that if Tenten used ninja tools in a way more conducive to her strengths, or if she simply just increased the arsenal of ninja tools that she had access to, then she could be a Hokage level threat. However, her reliance on either the worst or most basic ninja tools she could get her hands on stunted her growth as a ninja. But what are the tools that she could hypothetically use to become this Hokage level threat? To gain strength beyond her wildest dreams? Well, that's the subject of today's video, because today we're going to be talking the top 10 strongest ninja tools ranked and explained. But before we get to ranking or explaining anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you love the idea of me ranking and explaining things from your favorite anime and manga, you're gonna love my other channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk all other anime and manga. And if you just like the idea of me talking about anime and manga, then you're gonna love my anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime and manga this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if you just want to look like somebody who keeps up with all things anime and manga, go ahead and meander on over into my merch store, otakusanonymous.net, where you can pick up some of the greatest anime t-shirts, sweatshirts, and sticker packs known to man. See, in the Naruto universe, the category of ninja tools is basically anything a ninja uses ever. Toilet paper, if a ninja carries it on them to clean up after they take a number 2, could be considered a ninja tool. And thus, the category of ninja tool is incredibly broad. There are hundreds of ninja tools in the Naruto universe, and thus this category extends far beyond just swords and shovels. Tools can include anything from puppets to pills to perfume, and thus whittling this list down to 10 entries was tough, especially now that Boruto exists, as Boruto has introduced an entire new category of ninja tools known as scientific ninja tools. And now the old legendary ninja tools of Naruto have to compete against cutting edge and scientific ninja tools that are slicing through the competition in Boruto, as they pave the way for modern innovation in the field of destruction and death. And thus the act of taking these new innovations and comparing them side by side with the old staples of thousands of years of ninja work and deciding which is better, the tried and true or the new and shiny, was also a pretty big challenge in making this video. But we got our list, so let's get started. Coming in last place, which isn't that much of a dishonor in this list, at number 10, we have the Fire Gatling. Now, for those of you who haven't seen or read Boruto, you won't know what I'm talking about. Honestly, for those of you who have seen and read Boruto, you may not know what I'm talking about, because the Fire Gatling comes from a period in Boruto's manga and anime that definitely wasn't its strongest. And quite honestly, the introduction of scientific ninja tools like the Fire Gatling definitely didn't help this era of Boruto. See, this tool is similar to the Shinobi Gauntlet, in that the usage of it does not require chakra from the wielder. It's very much a plug and play. So long as you have operating fingers, you can use this weapon. And thus, if you get your hands on a Fire Gatling, you essentially just have a Gatling gun. Because unlike the Shinobi Gauntlet, the Fire Gatling doesn't give you an option as to what to fire. All you can fire is a ton of fire release. That is to say that the Fire Gatling carries thousands of mini fire release scrolls that can be fired and used as ammunition. And thus, simply by pointing the Fire Gatling in one direction and pulling the trigger, you can fire hundreds of fireballs in any direction a second. And you can imagine that an operating Gatling gun in a world of ninjas, firing hundreds if not thousands of rounds of ammunition a minute, would be incredibly powerful. And that's because it is. Al, with the power of the Fire Gatling, was able to keep the entirety of Team 7, Konohamaru included, hiding for their little lives while he dumped thousands of bullets of fire release into the hill that they were hiding behind. Which means that the entirety of Team 7 and Konohamaru understood that if Al were able to hit them with this fire release, they'd be cut in half, and thus the fire Gatling in the Boruto universe operates at a similar capacity of strength as a regular Gatling gun in our world. Because here's the thing, almost everybody in Naruto is most definitely bulletproof or bulletproof adjacent, and therefore if you just had a regular Gatling gun, it wouldn't do all that much, and therefore there would be no reason to hide from it. But the fact that Team 7 and Konohamaru, a seasoned Jonin, felt as though a hit from the fire Gatling was guaranteed death means that this weapon is much stronger than a standard R-universe Gatling gun. Not to mention that the ammunition for this gun is just a bunch of very small, very light fire scrolls that appear to be stored within the fire Gatling itself, meaning that the fire Gatling in the Naruto universe is much easier to walk around with and wield than a Gatling gun in our universe. And so, for the sheer fact that the Boruto universe decided to introduce one of the deadliest weapons in modern warfare into their universe through the medium of ninjutsu, yeah, it's gonna get an entry on this list. But enough about the new and the shiny, let's go back to the good old days and talk about a pill that helps you keep it going all night long, or all day long. Get freaky with it. Because coming in at number 9, we have the blood increasing pill, which is just, kind of exactly what it sounds like. See, the blood increasing pill was introduced in Naruto episode 93. It might actually be a little bit more useful. See, because the blood increasing pill is a pill that can save your life. See, this pill is a pill used by shinobi in order to speed up the formation and creation of blood in their bodies. And therefore, if a shinobi has lost a significant amount of blood in a battle, they can take a blood increasing pill to rejuvenate the amount of blood in their body, thus saving them in a pinch where they may not be able to receive medical ninjutsu, or giving them the ability to get back on the battlefield after being patched up through medical ninjutsu, as ninjas are beholden to two separate kinds of life force, chakra and blood. And thus, having a pill that allows you to rejuvenate all of the blood you've lost almost instantaneously is one of the more broken things out there that almost never gets talked about. Now, this is kind of because the idea of practical medical ninjutsu kind of fell out of vogue after OG Naruto, but still, a ninja being able to save their own life by taking just one pill is a great way to keep them on the battlefield. And thus, while it doesn't spit out thousands of fire ninjutsu a second, if it can keep somebody like Naruto or Kakashi on the battlefield for even a little bit longer, I'd say that's a bit more useful. But speaking of Kakashi, we got something coming up at number 8 that he once was able to get his grimy little mitts on twice, and that would be, well, one of the 7 swords of the mist. See, because here's the thing, while technically I could put every single one of the 7 swords of the mist on this list, let's be real, only certain swords from the 7 swords of the mist are even worth being on this list in the first place. Samehada deserves to be on this list, the Kiba blades deserve to be on this list, the split sword deserves to be on this list, but the rest of the swords like Kabutoari, the sewing needle, and even the explosive tag axe probably don't deserve to be on this list. And if I was gonna put individual 7 swords of the mist on this list, they would take up like a third of the list, and that's boring. We've ranked and explained the 7 swords of the mist before. Go watch that video if you're interested. So today we're gonna be considering all of the 7 swords in conjunction. But Nick, if you're considering all of the 7 swords in conjunction, how are they not higher? Well, because trust me when I say the rest of the ninja tools on this list are more important than the 7 swords of the mist. See, because here's the thing about the 7 swords of the mist. Most of them are incredibly difficult to use. Listen, I get that the sewing needle has its own practical applications, as you can stab people with it and run cable through them and get them all tied up so they can be cut down easier. But like, do you know how hard it would be to make sure you're not sewing yourself into any mazes? Not to mention the sewing needle itself doesn't have a whole lot in the way of killability. Then there's Kabutoari, which is literally just an axe and a hammer. Like, yeah, technically, is that a really good way to split through defenses? I guess. If somebody conveniently blocks your axe and then waits for you to strike the back of it with a hammer, that is. And while the Kiba blades might be the sharpest sword ever made, that's only because the Kiba blades inherently funnel lightning chakra through them, which many other people have done. Sasuke, Killer Bee, Darui, basically anybody who's ever held a sword and had lightning release has the Kiba blades. And then we have our explosive seal axe, which sure has a ridiculous amount of offensive firepower, as every single time you strike anything, you also explode it with an endless wheel of explosive seals. But it's also like super dangerous for you. Like, why do we think the wielder of the explosive seal axe has one eye? Not to mention, it's huge and really slow. And while the executioner sword is probably my favorite sword in fictional history, it is legitimately just a sword.
What do you mean, Nick? It has the ability to regenerate using the iron in blood.
How often are we breaking the 6-foot hunk of steel? That is one of the stupidest abilities of a sword I've ever heard. Do I love it? Does it match the name? Because obviously it's meant to decapitate people and therefore it's always gonna be covered in blood? Yes. Does it make it useful? Legitimately, there is two good swords in the 7 Swords of the Mist. There's Samehada, which is incredibly hard to use, and if you don't have the right kind of chakra, you will never be able to use. Even Naruto didn't have the right kind of chakra because when he tried to pick up Samehada, it barbed his hand. And the split sword, which is objectively a little easier to use. But if you can use either of these weapons, they are ridiculously powerful. Samehada allowed Kisame, already one of the strongest ninjas alive at his time, to propel into the top ranks of the Akatsuki, as the weapon allowed him to continually feed his already basically limitless chakra source with the chakra sources of his enemies, which is a slight necessity because Samehada feeds on the chakra of its owner. But having not only an incredibly large and deadly weapon that's able to extend at the hilt and bite onto enemies, but also a weapon that passively pulls in chakra from any cut that you inflict upon those enemies is a massive buff in combat, especially if you're part shark and you're able to merge with that sword and become like the ultimate shark man. And thus, because of this, a 30% Kisame with Samehada was able to go toe-to-toe against a 6th gate guy. A full-strength Kisame with Samehada was able to go toe-to-toe with Killer B until Samehada decided he wanted to switch sides. And therefore, the combination of power between Kisame and his legendary sword Samehada made him one of the most terrifying foes in Naruto's history. And while the split sword is inherently a little less intimidating, what it lacks in intimidation factor, it makes up for in versatility, as the split sword is kind of like Asuma's Chakra Blade, but turned to 11, as it allows for much more than just the application of chakra in the form of an extendable blade at the end of his knuckle knife, as the split sword can do that, increasing its range by applying a chakra-like blade towards the end of it. But also the split sword can take on really any form it wants to. It can take on the form of a hammer or an axe, giving the wielder of the split sword the ultimate in versatility when it comes to a kenjutsu weapon. And it was through the power of this split sword that Chojuro was able to become the 6th Mizukage. But enough about ninja tools from places that aren't Konoha. Next up on our list at number 7, let's talk about more ninja tools from places that aren't Konoha, because coming up at number 7, we have puppets. Yes, we're considering puppets as a whole, not individual puppets. And while we technically never have done a ranking and explained video for the strongest puppets in Naruto, I can't believe I haven't done that, I'm writing that down. If we were to consider individual puppets, they'd be the whole list. And that's because there's a lot of really strong puppets. See, puppets were introduced to be a force of incredible power relatively early on in the Naruto story, as Kankuro appeared from the mysterious land of sand, wielding the power of the puppet. And while in the early days of Naruto, the strongest puppets we ever saw were the puppets wielded by Kankuro because he was our only sample size, and therefore we saw things like the Black Crow and the Salamander as the height of puppetry. As other puppeteers got introduced into the story, like Granny Chiyo and Sasori, we realized that Kankuro's puppets barely scratched the surface. However, unfortunately, puppets kind of take a back seat from the plot after Sasori's death in Shippuden. As after Sasori dies, Granny Chiyo dies, and Kankuro doesn't really show up again. And thus, for a long time, things like Sasori's 3rd Kazekage puppet and Granny Chiyo's 10 Monzaimon Chikamatsu puppets were really the pinnacle of strength that we ever saw as it pertained to puppets. That was until the last. Well, technically the novelization of the last, where Kankuro once again takes a step forward as a character in the story. See, in the last it's revealed that the Otsutsuki also have a puppet technique of sorts. However, their puppet technique allows them to simply create puppets that fight autonomously without chakra strings. And thus the Otsutsuki introduced to us in the last a whole new idea of what puppets could look like and the strength that they could achieve. And Kankuro, seeing this, figured that humans should be able to do the same. And thus Kankuro tried to find a way to make puppets fight autonomously. However, all he was able to deduce from this was a new way to make his chakra strings much thinner, allowing Kankuro to be able to control puppets from kilometers away, which, while it technically wasn't autonomous auto-fighting puppets, did very much raise the bar for what strength looked like for puppets in the Naruto universe, as now puppeteers had to be nowhere near the battlefield to fight at full capacity. Now you apply that technology to the fact that puppeteers like Sasori have the ability to bring people back to life through the medium of puppets with their Kekkei Genkai, and you have essentially a watered-down version of Edo Tensei that doesn't run the risk of the person you're controlling knowing the hand signs to break out of Edo Tensei. But enough about ninja tools from places not called Konoha, because coming up at number 6, we have a ninja tool from a place called Konoha. Because coming up at number 6, we have the Goon Bai.
Nick, what's that?
Great question. The Goon Bai is Madara/Obito's big old Uchiha fan. The Goon Bai is a giant non-folding wooden fan carved from a spirit tree. A spirit tree that only instruments meant to be used ritualistically are carved from.
No, Nick, what's a spirit tree?
I have no idea. But apparently, if you carve weapons from it, you get powerful weapons. And the Goon Bai, also known as the Goon Bai Uchiha, has been passed down from Uchiha clansman to Uchiha clansman for generations. But the most famous wielder of it is Madara. So much so that when Madara comes back to life during the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, Obito hands it back to Madara. The Goon Bai has a rather unique ability. It has the ability to convert all incoming chakra into wind release, and thus it has the ability to reflect an opponent's attack back at them, and therefore any ninjutsu attack that you launch at Madara or any wielder of the Goon Bai, if they hit that ninjutsu attack with their fan, they're able to send it back at you, meaning that the Goon Bai acts essentially as a perfect defense. And we don't necessarily know the limits of the Goon Bai, but we do know that it was able to block a super mini-tailed beast ball from Naruto with no visible damage, and therefore it's pretty safe to assume that almost anything can be reflected with the Goon Bai. And yet, it's barely ever used. But if you put that in anybody's hands, it instantly makes them multitudes stronger. But who knows? Maybe you need to be an Uchiha. You know what you don't have to be an Uchiha to wield though? Our number 5 entry, because coming in at number 5, we have another entry from Boruto, Shinobi Gauntlet. Dude, the Shinobi Gauntlet was created specifically to be used by anyone, as this scientific ninja tool developed by Katsuki allows anybody, even non-shinobi, to use complicated jutsus with no training, and thus the Shinobi Gauntlet is basically a way to eliminate the need for shinobi in their entirety, or at least a way to eliminate a shinobi's reliance on ninjutsu, which would allow a shinobi to be able to channel their chakra into other things, like increasing their speed or strength. As any and all ninjutsu they need to use, they can simply fire out of the Shinobi Gauntlet, which could lead to shinobis who wield the Shinobi Gauntlet being able to fight for longer and possibly more powerfully. See, a Shinobi Gauntlet operates by storing multiple different scrolls of jutsus within the gauntlet, and then in order to fire out one of these scrolls, you have to do a predetermined hand sign. Now, the hand seal that you do corresponds to the elemental release of the scroll you're trying to release. But how are these techniques released? Outside of the hand signs, that is. I mean, obviously, some chakra has to go into the fueling of these ninjutsu. And you're right, some chakra does have to go into the fueling of these ninjutsu. However, that chakra does not come from the wielder. See, there's a chakra condenser on the Shinobi Gauntlet that pulls in ambient chakra from nature. And that ambient chakra pulled in from nature is condensed and then used to fire up these jutsu. And thus, in essence, the usage of the Shinobi Gauntlet kind of makes whatever user who's using it a sage of sorts, as they're using nature energy as opposed to their own chakra to fire off high-level jutsu in quick succession, all without taxing their own chakra resources. And that's not to mention the fact that a lot of the Shinobi Gauntlet jutsus are actually better than their non-gauntlet counterparts, as the Shinobi Gauntlet Rasengan is able to be launched, while regular Rasengan, wielded by everybody whose name doesn't end in UTO, aren't. And thus, by simply slipping on a glove, any person, be they shinobi or not, is immediately given access to all 5 elemental releases, and yin and yang, as the Shinobi Gauntlet also gives you access to things like Shadow Imitation Technique and the Shadow Clone Technique. And not to mention in the novelization of the Boruto movie, when Katsuki is firing a volley of assorted jutsus at Momoshiki, one of the ones he fires is wood release. So yeah, strictly because just by putting a glove on, you now have access to something that Orochimaru had to kill 90 children to bring back to life, wood release, I'm gonna say you deserve the 5 spot. But enough about tools that can help everybody, let's talk about tools that can only help a very specific group of people. Because coming up at number 4, we have the 3-Colored Pills. Now, the 3-Colored Pills are introduced relatively early on into Naruto's run, as they're introduced in the beginning of the Sasuke retrieval arc. Now, the 3-Colored Pills can technically only help members of the Akamichi clan, as really the 3-Colored Pills can only help those who have the ability of calorie conversion. Now, the 3-Colored Pills, as the name suggests, are 3 different colored pills. 1 green, 1 yellow, 1 red, also known as the spinach pill, the curry pill, and the chili pill. These pills force the body to break down the fat in the body and convert it into chakra, which is essentially what the Akamichi's calorie conversion ability does anyways, but the 3-Colored Pills are for members of the Akamichi who are unable to do it at a high level. However, this doesn't mean that the usage of the 3-Colored Pills doesn't give a boost to even high-level Akamichi members, as the ingestion of any one of these pills leads to a massive output in power. However, like all things in Naruto that promise power, this power comes with a drawback, in that every single one of these pills you take poisons you, with the 3rd pill, the chili pill, being the most dangerous, as it converts all of the fat in the body into chakra. However, it's said that consuming the chili pill increases the strength of the user 100 times over, which is a comparable upgrade to unlocking the 8th gate, with a comparable drawback to opening the 8th gate, in that after consuming the chili pill, you become dangerously emaciated and risk death. But fortunately, the Nara clan has done extensive research on the 3-Colored Pills, and therefore they know how to bring an Akamichi back from the brink of death after eating the chili pill. So, for the sheer fact fact that they can make one of the strongest clans in all of Naruto 100 times stronger, they're going to be pretty high on this list. As if Choji or his father Choza were to have taken the chili pill during the 4th Great Shinobi Worlds War, they probably would have been able to win in a battle against the Ghetto statue. And that is saying something. But enough about ninja tools that can kill you. Let's talk about some ninja tools that can kill others. Wait, actually, these tools don't kill people. They just seal them away forever. You know what? That's worse than death. Because coming in at number 3, we have the treasure tools of the Sage of Six Paths. Now, this is the only grouping of ninja tools where I actually considered breaking them up into their individual tools, as there are a couple of tools from the treasure tools of the Sage of Six Paths that deserve to be on this list as an individual item. But there is also 3 tools from the treasure tools of the Sage of Six Paths that need each other to operate. So we're just going to consider them all together. The 3 tools that need to be used together are the 3 tools that Kinkaku and Ginkaku use in order to seal away people's word souls. And those are the Shichisaiken, the Kokinjo, and the Benishago. Now, these 3 tools do nothing if they don't have each other, as the Kokinjo is needed to mark the word soul of an enemy and pull it out of them. The Shichisaiken is needed to cut the word soul after the rope has grabbed it, and the Benishago is needed to seal the word soul away from the person they just stole it from. And once they're able to grab somebody's word soul, cut it, and seal it, the person whose word soul they've grabbed can no longer say the word they say most often. So if I were to come up against Kinkaku and Ginkaku in a fight, and they were to grab my word soul with the Kokinjo, I would no longer be able to say Sword of Totsuka, or for all intents and purposes. But I also can't just stop talking, which means that while battling against these 2 incredibly strong foes, I would have to continue talking to them while avoiding the number 1 word that I say. And the only way to not be sealed away in the Benishago for the rest of my life is to kill 2 descendants of Hagoromo or flee the scene in its entirety. Which, when you consider the fact that these are 2 pseudo-Jinchurikis of Kurama, who are once again descendants of Hagoromo, fleeing may not be an option. But these 3 tools, since they are dependent on each other, are weaker because of their dependence. Well, at least weaker comparatively to the other 2 tools of the treasure tools of the Sage of Six Paths. See, the second strongest tool amongst all of the 5 tools is the Bashosen, which is also wielded by Kinkaku and Ginkaku, and temporarily wielded by Tenten. See, the Bashosen kind of operates like the 1.0 version of the Shinobi Gauntlet, in that by wielding it, simply by waving this fan, you are able to release an immense amount of any kind of elemental release. And thus, if you wanted to unleash a massive attack of lightning release, all you need to do is say a mental command while waving this fan, and boom, you've released an insane amount of lightning release. However, the reason that this is the 1.0 version of the Shinobi Gauntlet is that using the Bashosen requires an insane amount of chakra, and thus somebody like Tenten is only able to swing it twice, while somebody like Kinkaku or Ginkaku not only has an immense amount of chakra themselves, but is also a Jinchuriki to Kurama, is able to swing it a bunch of times. And thus, technically, I actually would consider the Bashosen weaker than the Shinobi Gauntlet, like as a tool. I mean, obviously its ceiling's higher if it's in the hands of Kinkaku or Ginkaku, but in terms of like a tool you could hand anybody and tell them to use, it's weaker than the Shinobi Gauntlet. And it's definitely weaker than the strongest out of all of the sacred tools of the Sage of Six Paths, the Kohaku no Johei, also known as the Amber Purifying Pot. See, the Kohaku no Johei does everything that the Shichisaiken, the Kokinjo, and the Benishago do, but is just 1 tool, and also a lot easier than those 3 tools are able to do it. So the combination of these 3 tools allow you to seal away somebody if they say the word they say the most after you seal away their word soul. The Kohaku no Johei allows you to seal away somebody as strong as Gyuki, mind you, if they do something so simple as respond to you. Let's say this is the Kohaku no Johei, and I say, let's assume your name is James. Hey, James. And you go, hey, Nick. Boom, you're sealed. Until I don't want you to be. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous we don't use that more often. Hey, Madara. Yeah? War over. How is that not our opening plan? You're telling me one guy just chasing after Madara, asking him questions until eventually Madara's like, stop talking to me, and then boom, war over? We had it the whole time.
Oh, Nick Madara would probably know that it was the Kohaku no Johei and he would respond.
You use transformation jutsu on it, make it look like, I don't know, a ninja, and then throw the ninja to Hashirama, the one person we all know Madara is gonna respond to, have him go, Madara, and then Madara goes, Hashirama, and then boom, we did it!
Oh, Shikamaru and his dad are so intelligent.
Oh, really? Why didn't they think of that? But enough about those old, musty, dusty tools. Let's talk about new stuff. Let's talk about the new gen. Let's talk about Skibbity Toilet. Because coming up at number 2, we got Shinobi Ware. Shinobi Ware, also known as integrated mechanical shinobi tools, are bionic-type scientific ninja tools that have been developed to be used as prosthetics or implants. Now, technically, the catch-all of Shinobi Ware is quite wide, and the definition of what Shinobi Ware is dependent on who we're talking about. Ao, who was the sole survivor of the Ten Tails tailed bomb that took out the Shinobi Alliance Intelligence HQ during the 4th Great Shinobi World War, required a whole lot of Shinobi Ware to come back to life. And one of the Shinobi Ware augments that his body received was the Type 3 Shinobi Gauntlet, which not only allowed him to release jutsu and use it, but also featured a two-sided chakra-bladed mitter. Garo, one of Kara's outers, had both his left and his right hands augmented with Type 5 Shinobi Gauntlets, which allowed him to use incredibly powerful claws to crush things and to fire off fire release. He was also equipped with reflux-type pressure-enhanced muscles that made him massively more powerful than he was as a non-augmented human. However, when it comes down to the most powerful examples of Shinobi Ware, usually people either talk about Kawaki or Delta, as both Kawaki and Delta's bodies have been modified down to a cellular level that allows them to modify parts of their body to turn their legs into rocket propulsion systems like Delta does, or to make their hands into giant blades like Kawaki does, or to use their eyes to absorb so much chakra that the only person who was able to overwhelm the chakra absorption rate of the eye was somebody with almost infinite chakra like Naruto. And thus, by making their entire bodies out of cellularly sized Shinobi Ware, people like Kawaki and Delta become walking weapons, capable of reacting to or firing off light speed laser attacks, and going toe-to-toe with KCM2 Hokage Naruto. So yeah, while Shinobi Ware is kind of a catch-all term, the lack of the main cast of Naruto having Shinobi Ware is one of the many reasons they've lost all relevancy in terms of power in Boruto. But still, all of this pales in comparison to a ninja tool that we saw created in Naruto the Last. And I'm not talking about the autonomous puppets. No, the #1 most powerful ninja tool in the entirety of the Naruto universe does not come from Konoha, but instead comes from the village hidden in the clouds. That's because the #1 most powerful ninja tool ever created is the Chakra Cannon. See, the Chakra Cannon is exactly what it sounds like. It is a cannon capable of firing highly condensed chakra gathered from groups of people. Now, technically, out of all of the tools we talked about on this list, this tool does require the most, let's call it prep time, as the Chakra Cannon needs to be charged to 100% chakra capacity before being fired. And the charging of the cannon to 100% capacity takes a group of people channeling their chakra into the cannon. And so this isn't exactly a high fire rate weapon. However, when you consider the level of firepower that this Chakra Cannon is able to dish out, high fire rate is not a necessity. See, a Chakra Cannon has 3 barrels. The bottom 2 barrels are used for the Chakra Diffusion Cannon. The main purpose of these 2 bottom barrels is destruction. And while it wasn't designed for this purpose, the only way that we've ever seen these bottom barrels used is to destroy the meteorites that were falling off the moon after Toneri tried to throw the moon into the earth. So while Konoha had the Suicide Squad and Sasuke, the Hidden Cloud had chakra cannons. And while one could say, well, Nick, if Sasuke is able to destroy one of these meteorites with just the Chidori, the chakra cannon can't be all that powerful, right? And to that I would say, creating a ninja tool that is comparable to Sasuke's Chidori as an adult is very impressive, and the Chakra Cannon's beam is able to diffuse into multiple different beams that could destroy multiple meteorites all at once. So in actuality, the weaker firing mode of the Chakra Cannon is stronger than Sasuke's Chidori, at least within the circumstances of the last. But what about that 3rd barrel? What about the stronger attack the Chakra Cannon is able to fire off? Well, the 3rd barrel, or the top barrel, is for the Chakra Transportation Cannon, and it was created to use a high velocity and high concentration of chakra to fire any object into a separate dimension. That is to say that any object or person hit with this beam is hit with so much power, they are immediately transferred to a separate dimension. That is to say that the Hidden Cloud used a high density of chakra to kind of reverse engineer space-time ninjutsu, as they themselves don't have access to dojutsu. And thus, with the power of this beam, if the 4th Raikage so decided, he could shoot the moon and send it to a separate dimension, thus essentially destroying the moon. And once your ninja tools start being able to destroy small planets, that's gonna get you the top entry on this list, even if it does take a couple of minutes to charge. But what do you guys think? Out of all the tools in the Naruto universe, what's the strongest? Do you agree with the list I made? And what would your list look like? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Woo! I haven't made a ranked and explained video in a while. I forgot how taxing these were.